Right, this week was the finale of The Mandalorian Season 2, Chapter 16, The Rescue, directed by Peyton Reed.
Mando takes a trip to Hamilton.
Mando uses an old classic trick.
When you visit someone's house, it's always nice to courtesy flush.
And could this be the greatest moment in Star Wars history?
Well, first of all, yes, it very well could be. But before we get into any spoilers, obviously, way massive heads up. This is the finale, so we're okay if you do not watch this until you've seen the show. It's just that good. But what I first wanted to go with is, season finales historically can be hit or miss.
Yes.
There are times we've all watched shows. We've talked about it in terms of other shows, sci-fi shows that have the best wrap up. This has to be, from a season finale standpoint, one of the best I have ever seen because it encompasses so many variables. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it totally does. And the greatest thing too is we've gotten there's been no trailer for this end, right? So like it is completely unpredictable what you're going to see, and things get delivered that you wouldn't in a million years think you might have seen on screen. Like trying to be vague.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah. And I guess at that point, like, is there anything you want to discuss before we get into what is a 3-course meal of an episode?
Well, could I just give my classic? Oh, the episode was great.
Yeah, this is my favorite episode. We're just gonna superimpose that onto every single article. But in this case, I will say this is without a doubt, unquestionably, my favorite episode. Period. And we'll talk about this later. But it is my favorite, it's a bold statement, it's my favorite 45 minutes of the entire Star Wars universe. And I know that that's a very bold statement.
Oh, that's a hot take right there.
Yeah.
But I will say, yes, the episode was great, but it had everything, we've seen the end of some of this character development. It had surprises, it had twists, turns, shot beautifully, the tension mounted significantly through this episode.
Yep.
Let's get into it.
Let's get right into it. Okay, is this where you do that?
Yeah. Spoiler warning.
Spoiler warning.
Star alarm.
You know what? I would never take this moment from you. So again, if you have not watched this, please stop this video unless you don't care about spoilers. Seriously, go away.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, we're good now.
Right. So I'll just set this up just a little bit. They are cornered, and it's not looking good. You even said it is not looking good for everyone in there. Moff Gideon says you will all die. And then they're like...
Except for me and the child.
Yeah, except for me and the child. And then the radar goes off that they got to connect from a single X-Wing. And they're
single
like,
X-Wing.
What's a single X-Wing going to do? And you both look at each other.
Hey, great. One X-Wing were saved, I think is what Cara Dune said. And keep in mind, there is a row of probably 10 Dark Troopers who are badass troopers outside the door. And then they all stop.
They stop.
Almost in this eerie quiet. And then you see the ears perk up of
baby
Grogu.
Yoda. Yeah. Yep. And it's almost like the Dark Troopers, the threat assessment in the AI recalculated and said, uh-oh. And they all stopped and faced off. And the second that X-Wing crossed the hangar, you and me both screamed, Luke!
You were literally when we saw
who else would be coming in a single X-Wing and docking?
Well, when you saw the walking with the hood, we have seen Ahsoka, and all I could hear from 2.5 feet over to my left was, "Please let that be a green saber. Please let that be a green saber."
And you see his right hand and has the black leather glove on. You just know. It's Luke.
Yeah.
And then they it's a great way they did it because you see it through security cameras, right? Mm-hmm. Of this hooded, right? You don't really see much, just slashing. Then every once in a while they give you the live action shot of him just slicing troopers in half. Even uses the Force to completely crush one.
Yeah, he beer cans one.
Yeah, we got full unleashed prime Luke here.
And that's something that as Star Wars fans, based on time, we've never had. We always joke about the Obi-Wan fight with Vader at the end, how it was this little twirly twirl, and then you fast forward and you see things like Clone Wars, which are animated, and Anakin's a savage. But we really haven't got, we got a taste of it in Rogue One, where you had Vader go off. And you said, was this better than the Vader scene? And I would say yes, because the Vader Savage scene was what all fans wanted.
Yeah.
What we just witnessed was what all fans needed.
Yeah, I still can't get over they put Luke Skywalker in the finale of a Mandalorian TV show, which is crazy. It goes to show you how much care and how much money and like how much they're like trying to make up to fans. Like let's be honest. This episode for me was greater than the sequel trilogy.
I was just gonna say, is this the ultimate apology for the last
That's what
three?
it seems. It's like they have like they're rewriting this the Star Wars history here, trying to like give fans what they actually wanted, and they're succeeding.
I have one massive gripe, but we're gonna talk about that at the end. Yeah.
So so what did you think about Luke? Was obviously CGI face.
Yep.
I thought the CGI was not perfect.
Well, there's that actor who looks scarily similar.
Sebastian Stan, I think, was been speculated, but it wasn't him, which makes, if they do Luke in the future, is it always going to be CGI Mark Hamill, or is it going to be slowly weed Sebastian Stan in there? I don't know. But anyways, it was fine. Yeah. It fit. It was Mark Hamill's voice, but we think they did something a little to make him sound a little younger.
Yeah, pitched it to make him sound a bit younger.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's so much that was good about this episode.
Yeah. Well,
I'm a little disappointed I did not see Bo-Katan Moff Gideon standoff with the spear. Obviously, you're watching this. You've watched the episode. Mando shows his absolute dominance by unhanding him, not quickly, but decently well, just to show how well trained he is.
Yeah, and part of me, like, yes, he beat him, but part of me, it almost seemed like that's what Gideon had planned.
Well, I think he knew
that
there was no.
Remember, he states,
wasn't gonna win.
Assume I know everything.
Yeah.
He states that. And then he goes on to say, Bo-Katan is on the bridge and there's nobody there and she's upset.
She's going to panic. She's going to start to panic.
And I feel like he set that whole thing up as that was his. He basically needed to buy time for the Dark Troopers. Because let's be honest, if Luke doesn't show up, they're
hooped.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm going to have my gripe.
Okay, have your gripe.
So, again, this is the best episode of any Star Wars I've ever seen, period. But I have a massive concern with the right towards the ending when Mando goes to hand Bo-Katan the Darksaber, and Moff Gideon steps up and says, "That's not how this works. She has to beat you in combat." However, Sabine Wren literally gives Bo-Katan the Darksaber to rule Mandalore. Now, you can speculate, and you and I were talking about this before, that well, she found the Darksaber, it doesn't really count because she didn't have to fight Maul for it. I think that is absolute hokum, because I don't want to curse because this is a very family-friendly episode. It's absolute hot garbage. No, that is not right. Sabine Wren did it not that long ago. There's nothing wrong with handing her the Darksaber.
Yeah, and like that whole explanation is what I'm going in my mind trying to explain what they did there. But like the Mando, he was never fighting Gideon to take over to get the Darksaber or Mandalore. He
doesn't matter. It's the religion.
I know. He clearly it states his intent was the child. So like it's weird that Bo-Katan would still feel I have to defeat you to get the saber from you.
Should he have just like kicked it down the hallway so he
just
never picked it up?
Yeah.
The old Luke?
Yeah.
He just does the old over the shoulder.
I'm gonna do a Darth Maul. I'm just gonna leave it on Dathomir. Go find it. I don't know. Yeah, it seemed a little strange, but like to lots of fans' points though, the whole Mando taking his helmet off seemed weird because they obviously do in Clone Wars and Rebels, and that got explained. So
the ending scene where he takes his helmet off for the child.
Yeah, the child.
Oh.
I mentioned to you when he did that, it echoes kind of Return of the Jedi when Vader's dying and has to look on Luke with his own eyes. And I had that moment of like, let me look
upon you with my own eyes. Yeah.
It's kind of neat. And just to finish up Bo-Katan, we don't really get resolution on that story.
No.
We don't see them after the bridge scene, so we don't know what's going to happen there. Because Bo-Katan seemed pretty dead.
Does she become an anti-hero?
Yeah.
Does she fight Mando in season 3, even though he doesn't want to?
Mando doesn't even want it. Like I guess he's just leaving it on the ship, right?
So funny, Moff Gideon. It's yours, and Mando looks at him. What's mine? Like, like I just came for him. Like,
Mirror for the child.
Mirror for the child. That's literally it.
Like, Bo-Katan, remember when we negotiated this whole rescue?
Yeah, we had this conversation.
Child 9, you want to keep the ship,
Go nuts.
Darksaber,
Yeah.
it's all yours.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a kind of a weird moment and otherwise an almost perfect episode.
Yep. Okay, so moving on, Boba Fett, think that they've done a great job making him tough again after such a terrible almost demise in Return of the Jedi.
And
right?
again, like for fans, like they've always viewed Boba as this like amazing bounty hunter, awesome character, and they're rewriting that kind of hokey death in Return of the Jedi to reestablish him as that threat. And
how do you feel about the full circle at the end?
Yeah, so I think I don't know if
watch
people know
to the end.
Yeah,
Go right to the end of the credits.
So when Star Wars or Disney Investor Day, they announced what they said was going to be 10 Star Wars series over the next 10 years, and if you counted them up, there was 9 plus the Rogue Squadron movie. So they were actually missing a series. I felt. I don't know. The math didn't end up to me, and we get the announcement in the credits.
The book?
The Book of Boba.
Book of Boba.
Next Christmas, right?
Yeah, December 2021.
So Boba is getting his own spin-off, which makes sense. Like, Boba is just... And looks like Fennec Shan's going to be his new sidekick, and he loves flying around Slave One, so looks like we're going to get some awesome Boba action.
Yeah, I mean... Okay, so now, is this the greatest 45 minutes in Star Wars history? I know you want to make this an entire other shoot, but... I mean, you mentioned the latter half of Rogue One and Jedi. Yeah. I would give you Jedi. Don't get me wrong. We've done a Rogue One. I love Rogue One. But there were so many, what I mentioned in the opener is that you've got the religion of Mandalore. You've got Boba Fett virtually back from the dead in the last 5 episodes. You've got the transformation of Mando from a heartless bounty hunter to a literal caregiver. You've got the arrival of a CGI'd Mark Hamill as the Luke Skywalker that you and I have been wanting to see since we were old enough
Jedi,
to understand what it is we were watching. You've got the conniving Moff Gideon who has shades of Thrawn, and that's an entire other conversation. But these villains are so intelligent, and they respect the art of war. And you know, you've got Cara Dune who blasts that guy in the face in front of the scientist, and we learned the scientist wasn't a bad guy; he was just a scientist. And you could see that rage when that guy talks about being in the Death Star and watching her planet get destroyed. I mean, there was a culmination of so many variables, so many different Star Wars properties, all in 45 minutes. Like I couldn't stop staring.
They jammed so much fan stuff in there. And to your point, it is great. I just don't know if I'm willing to put it as my number one. I got to let it percolate.
You got to let it digest.
Gotta watch maybe a couple more times. And it's funny. There was so many little tidbits. Like we hinted at the intro. They do this whole shuttle stolen trick to breach onto the thing. You mentioned the guy who said he watched Alderaan from the Death Star, and then he said, "Don't you know how many people died on those Death Stars?" It's just kind of been a joke in the community.
Yeah, all the second Death Stars of all the subcontractors.
All the contractors on there. It's like those were all neat things.
And I also think, hold on, just to quickly touch on this, we watched it last episode where it showed a very different side of the Empire in terms of them being celebrated when they get through the Rhydonium into the in the Rhydonium tank. You know, this is what these people believe. They believe that they're the good guys. You know, there's a very famous saying that the differences between good and evil are which side you're on. Both people believe they're doing the right thing for the right reason, and you could almost see the conviction in this nobody's face that was like, do you know how many millions of people died on that Death Star? And I was like,
and you even saw he murdered his teammate, and that guy was like, "Hey, I got no beef with you. I'm
a subcontractor.
I'm flying the shuttle."
I basically came in from a temp agency 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
So I got one final note I wanted to just bring up to you. Go back to Luke. This Luke Skywalker we got very much fits the theme, the mentality of the Luke from Jedi, right?
Yep.
It's like, yes, we got exactly what we wanted. This is great. But I feel like it it makes the sequel trilogy that much more harder to stomach what Luke becomes. You know what I'm trying to say?
No. I mean, I know what you're saying, but I don't agree. Like, I think this shows active...
When you see Luke like this, just so powerful, dominating, rescuing Force children, and then you know one day he's going to be deserted on an island, completely turned off from the Force, like... it doesn't seem like that's what Luke would do.
I don't know, man. I think that he put so much heart and soul into recruiting this next generation. I always forget his name. I've actually 4 times. The kid from the Fallen Order video game. I guarantee you he's with him as well. The fact that he goes through what he just went through to acquire the child, Grogu, Baby Yoda, whatever you want to call him. I think it just shows that he's so emotionally invested in building this next generation. I almost think the opposite. I think it really shows that this could physically destroy him.
You know what I'm going to have to see? They're going to have to one day put on film Kylo Ren, some sort of show about Kylo Ren getting manipulated by Snoke and him taking some of the other Jedis in the temple and destroying everything Luke built.
Could you imagine that series?
And seeing like Luke, the heartache, the pain, and being like,
Yeah.
I just ruined the galaxy. Like that's the only thing that's going to make me...
Could you imagine that show?
Yeah.
Ben?
Yeah.
Anyway.
I don't want to see depressed Luke though, but I wouldn't
Depressed-
watch.
Is that like sad Keanu?
Yeah, sad Keanu.
Well, Tyler, thank you so much for coming over and doing this every week. I appreciate the fact that we've been able to kind of sit down and share this time and go through these episodes and talk about them. I love the fact that we get to come here and you get to enjoy the theater. And
I think we're going to have a lot of new shows in the future to do as well, which I'm pretty excited about.
Yeah.
I think Bad Batch up next.
Ah, sold.
Yeah.
So, you want to sign it off? Anything you want to add at the end?
No, just, I hope everyone enjoyed watching our series of reviews, and hopefully we'll have some more stuff out to you soon.
Yep. Have a safe and happy holidays. Like, subscribe, The Rogue Leader, get it, Fabolous Flix. Have an amazing, amazing holidays.
Yeah. Happy Life Day.
Cheers.